Let's get right into it. Number 7, Columbus's epic math fail. Imagine Columbus poring over maps, convinced he'd need about 3,000 miles of ocean breeze to hit Japan. Turns out he misread the Earth's circumference by a whopping 25%, thanks to mixing up Arabic miles with Roman miles and stacking bad sources on top of bad math. He leaned on Alfragani's value of 56.67 equatorial miles per degree, but assumed they meant shorter Roman miles, not the longer Arabic ones, instantly shrinking his Earth estimate by a quarter. Then he stretched Asia across the ocean until it nearly kissed Europe, shaving travel distance by 58% in total. That's how you accidentally discover half a continent and rewrite trade and everything else. Columbus's brain said optimism is a strategy even when it involves globe-sized denial. Your brain might lowball your commute time, but at least you're not confusing miles like a medieval explorer. Number 6, Alexander Fleming forgot to clean his lab. Picture Alexander Fleming lounging on vacation while leaving petri dishes stacking up in his lab. He returns to find mold growing and wiping out his staff culture. He then isolates penicillin and boom, the antibiotic revolution is born. He discovered one of the greatest medicines by neglecting to do the dishes. Fleming didn't set out to save World War II soldiers, he just came back to sloppiness. His oversight became one of the most optimistic mistakes in science. The mold Penicillium notatum became humanity's life-saving fungal friend. If he'd cleaned up like a good scientist, we might have had to wait decades longer for antibiotics, or stumbled into infections way nastier than bad pizza. The irony, the world's first antibiotic came from human laziness and scientific curiosity. It's this perfect blend of serendipity and scientific insight. The punchline, your brain's doing something brilliant when you think, yeah, I'll clean that later, if you're Fleming.
Number 5, friendly fire over Schnapps. Picture thousands of Habsburg soldiers crammed into an Austrian camp. Boredom setting in until some Romany traders wander through offering schnapps. One soldier fires in frustration, chaos erupts, and someone shouts Turkish attack. Historically inaccurate pandemonium explodes, units mistake their comrades for enemies, and start shooting each other. By dawn, they've effectively destroyed themselves. No Ottomans even showed up. The Ottomans wander the next day and take the town. Historically dubbed one of the worst friendly fire incidents ever. It's not deliciously absurd, why does everything go wrong at once moment. Your brain hears chaos and splits focus, fear, booze, bad German pronunciation, like halt, sending like Allah, and your army self-destructs. Punchline worthy, sometimes the enemy you should fear is yourself, amplified by alcohol and misheard words. Number 4, Titanic's lookout had no binoculars. Imagine Titanic, still unsinkable in the PR department, setting sail without binoculars. Yep, it's the lookout binoculars were locked in a locker whose key changed hands and never got delivered. So lookouts peer into the inky Atlantic with naked eyes. When an iceberg enters a picture at 11:40 p.m., it's too late to react, despite the crow's nets spotting it. No binoculars equals delayed warning equals over 1,500 lives lost. It's classic human error, misplaced responsibility, poor communication, and a doomed cost-benefit choice, like no need for binoculars, ships, nuts, and bolts are stronger. The punchline writes itself. In this case, seeing was indeed not believing.
Number 3, Chernobyl's safety test, boom. Imagine doing a safety test so wrong that it blows the roof off your nuclear plant. Welcome to Chernobyl, April 26, 1986, where Soviet engineers at Reactor 4 were like, let's test emergency shutdown by disabling the emergency system. Smart. In theory, they wanted to know if the turbines could keep the coolant pumps running after a power loss. In practice, they broke nearly every safety protocol in the book. They lowered the reactor power too fast, pulled out too many control rods, and triggered a runaway reaction that cracked the core like a radioactive pressure cooker. The explosion was so intense that it blew a 1,200-ton reactor lid into the sky and spewed radioactive material across Europe. The real kicker, the engineers weren't even trained for that level of oops. Their Soviet manual didn't cover what if the reactor explodes because of us. The psychology here is a cocktail of overconfidence, groupthink, and a government so secretive that fixing a mistake became more dangerous than making one. When your safety test needs its safety test, maybe don't run it at 1:23 a.m. Number 2. Napoleon invades Russia in winter. Let's wrap this disaster tour with a classic, Napoleon Bonaparte's super genius idea to invade Russia with 600,000 troops and no winter clothes. In 1812, he thought Russia would fold fast. Russia disagreed. The Russians pulled a full scorched earth policy, burning their towns, crops, and supplies while retreating. So, Napoleon's Grande Armée chased ghosts through a charred landscape, then got swallowed by the Russian winter, like every villain in a survival movie. Of the 600,000 who marched in, fewer than 100,000 limped out alive. Why did he do it? Ego, overreach, and the classic belief that logistics is optional. Napoleon's brain said this'll work out fine, and then froze in place, literally. So, never fight a land war in Russia, especially not in the snow with fancy hats.
Number 1. The Mars Climate Orbiter can't convert its units. Imagine NASA prepping for a triumphant Mars orbit insertion. But instead of science history, you get science mystery. You've got two teams. One speaks fluent metric, newtons. The other insists on good old American pound for seconds. No conversion, no clarification, just poor assumptions. Lockheed Martin sends thruster impulse data in pound for seconds, but NASA software dutifully treats it as Newton seconds, off by a jarring factor 4.45. Result, the orbiter dips way too low, down to about 57 kilometers instead of the safe 150 kilometers, and burns up in Martian friction hell. You can almost see Mission Control doing a double facepalm. We agreed on metric, right? Yeah. Well, we were wrong. NASA's better, faster, cheaper shopping list, without its required quality checks, turned into a fiery farewell party for a $327 million spacecraft. Your brain might sometimes shrug at a messy sock drawer, but in space, an unconverted unit can cost you a spaceship. Something tells me your hype mind still works just fine. No metric misfires here.
That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.